So, you want to work in venture capital. If this is your goal, then you need to have a perspective on venture capital firms, the skills you need to work in one, and how you can go about getting a job. We are going to take a look at the principal executive roles in a venture capital firm so you can understand where you can best contribute given your current level of experience. Then we're going to ask what skills you will need to be successful in a venture capital firm. And this, believe me, goes well beyond academic and a few Excel modeling skills. Finally, we will address how you can go about getting a job in a venture capital firm. This is by its nature a highly competitive process. So the more work and research you do to prepare yourself before you apply and are interviewed, the better. Let's take a look now at the executive roles in a venture capital firm. While every venture capital firm is not necessarily identical, the structure of the organizations do tend to follow a certain pattern, and there do tend to be a number of roles in the firms which are clearly identifiable. Bearing in mind that between the roles that I'm about to describe to you, there may be intermediate levels depending on the size of the firm. So the major roles in venture capital firms typically include a partner. This is the top decision-making role in a venture capital firm, the person responsible for evaluating potential investments and managing the portfolio. A principal is a key member of the investment team, responsible for identifying potential investments and conducting due diligence. An associate works closely with the partners and principals, typically responsible for researching potential investments and assisting with due diligence. They often do an awful lot of financial modeling as well. The venture partner is a senior executive who works closely with the venture capital firm on a part-time basis, providing industry expertise and helping to identify potential investments. There are a team who manage the operations and administration, and they are responsible for the day-to-day running of the firm, including finance, accounting, and administrative tasks. There's also a team, often headed by a principal or by a director, who is responsible for fundraising and investor relations. So they're responsible for raising the capital for the firm and maintaining the relationships with the current and potential investors. I should also mention the role of entrepreneur in residence. This is typically a short-term role during which an experienced entrepreneur is brought into a firm to fill an experience gap or help with the development of a portfolio company. So let's look at the principal roles in a little more depth. Starting with the partner. A partner in a venture capital firm typically has several key responsibilities, and these can include identifying and evaluating potential investments. Partners are responsible for identifying and evaluating potential investments for the firm based on the firm's investment strategy and criteria. And of course, very often these firms have a very clear sector focus as well. They are responsible for overseeing and managing the due diligence process. So they conduct due diligence both on potential investments, reviewing financial projections, interviewing management teams, and assessing the market opportunity, as well as real deals where they get stuck into a lot more detail. Partners negotiate the terms of potential investments, including the amount of capital to be invested and the terms of the investment agreement. Of course, they also have to manage the portfolio of existing companies. So they are responsible for the day-to-day management of the companies in which they were involved in making the investments. And this involves working closely with the portfolio companies and their management teams to help them achieve their milestones, their goals, and ultimately their exits. Of course, they also have a role in fundraising. Partners have a responsibility and a key role in raising the capital for the firm, and this involves building relationships with current and potential investors and working to raise capital for the next fund. Let's turn our attention now to the principal. A principal in a venture capital firm is a key member of the investment team and typically has several responsibilities. These include identifying potential investments. Principals are responsible for identifying and sourcing potential investments for the firm based on the firm's investment strategy and criteria. When I was an assistant director in an investment bank, I used to play a game with my director called Deal of the Day, where he would expect me, on the basis of what I had read in the paper or the news I'd seen, to come up with a deal suggestion and argue for and against its benefits and criteria. And that really helped to challenge me and develop my ideas about how to look at new deal opportunities. Of course, the principals are very involved in conducting due diligence. This is a key part of the investment process and, of course, critical to the success of any deal. They have to look at both potential investments and existing deals which are in the process of being completed. And they have to review the financial projections, interview the management teams, and, of course, assess the overall market and sector opportunity and strategy. They have to assist with deal negotiation and structuring. And this means that they have to be aware of the terms of the deal and how they can best optimize the deal terms and the structure of the deal to suit the investment as well as the firm. They have to consider how much capital will be invested in the opportunity and the terms of the investment agreement. Of course, once the investment is made, they have to support portfolio companies. They work closely with these companies to help them achieve the milestones and the goals, and they provide guidance and support on details of strategic, operational and financial matters. They'll almost certainly be on the board of these companies and will attend the regular board meetings. They'll also review the monthly reports from the firm to make sure that the firm is progressing along the route that was agreed when the investment was made. They have to build relationships, and relationship building is a key role in venture capital, full stop. Principals have a responsibility within the firm for building the relationship with entrepreneurs and other venture capitalists. Often deals are done in conjunction with other firms and strategic partners, and this will help to identify potential investments as well as create exit opportunities. Of course, they participate in fundraising. They may assist partners in raising money for the firm and building those relationships, those important relationships with the existing and potential new investors in the fund, potential limited partners. In general, a principal is expected to be a rising star in the firm with a strong track record of investment and business development, and they are seen and they should have the ambition of becoming a partner in the firm in the future. We can turn our attention now to the associate. The associate in a venture capital firm is typically a junior member of the investment team, but still has some important responsibilities. These include researching potential investments. They have to research potential investments for the firm all the time, and this involves gathering information on companies, industries, and market trends. They are expected to have extensive knowledge and in-depth knowledge of the sector in which the firm operates. Of course, they have to conduct due diligence, so they assist partners and principals in the due diligence process, both on potential investments and on existing deals. And this involves reviewing the financial projections, interviewing the management teams, and assessing the strategic and the market opportunity. So they're really at the hard end. When a marketing report or some sort of report is produced by an external advisor, they will be the first ones to go through it and assess the pros and cons, the pluses and the minuses, and be able to describe the report back to their more senior colleagues. Supporting deal negotiation and structuring. Whilst they're not expected to lead, they should assist partners and principals in the negotiation of deals. This will include, of course, not only the amount of capital, but also the terms of the investment. And you can pick up some really important experience by working on deals and seeing how your more senior colleagues actually go through the negotiation process and how they come up with structuring ideas and opportunities to make the investment or to make the potential of the investment more successful. Of course, they have to support portfolio companies, and they work closely with these companies, helping them to achieve the goals that were set out at the time of the investment, as well as providing what guidance they can, because they will have some experience and ideas to contribute to support the strategic and operational side of the investee companies. Of course, relationship building is critical. They have to be continually building relationships with entrepreneurs and other venture capitalists. And this is actually a critical part of their own career, because if you're an associate, one of the ways to develop your career is to actually get headhunted by another firm and get a step up that way. So you should always be developing your relationships as broadly as you can. And of course, this can lead to the identification of potential investments and of course the opportunities for exiting existing investments. So participating in fundraising is a more of a nuts and bolts role for associates. They really have to work in a junior role, assisting partners and principals. But nonetheless, they'll do an awful lot of the modelling and a lot of the presentation work for the fundraising process. So in general, an associate is expected to have a strong academic record, typically an MBA, certainly almost certainly a graduate degree, and a very strong desire to learn and grow in the venture capital industry, with the aim and the ambition of becoming a principal or a partner in the firm in the future. If we turn our attention now to the venture partner. A venture partner in a venture capital firm typically plays a role in sourcing and evaluating potential investments, as well as support and guidance to portfolio companies. They may help to raise funds for the firm and serve as a liaison between the firm and its limited partners. Additionally, a venture partner may bring a specific area of expertise or industry knowledge to the firm. However, the specific responsibilities and the level of involvement can vary depending on the firm and the individual partner. I should touch base, at least briefly, on the role of the entrepreneur in residence. An entrepreneur in residence at a venture capital firm is an individual who's hired by the firm to work with portfolio companies and identify new investment opportunities. The entrepreneur in residence typically has significant experience as an entrepreneur or a startup executive, and is brought on to provide guidance and mentorship to the firm's portfolio companies, as well as helping to identify and evaluate potential new investments. They have real hands-on experience, and very often they can bring sector expertise, which can be extremely valuable. They will also have their own network, which again can open doors and help to identify new investment opportunities. The entrepreneur in residence may also work on special projects or initiatives for the firm. Now, the role is often unsalaried, but often rewarded, nearly always rewarded with equity in the investee company or companies. So in summary, venture capital firms are seldom large organizations. So the broader the range of skills you can bring to the party, the more value you will be to the firm. You should also be actively developing the skills you require for your next advancement, as you can be sure that your peer group, from whom you can expect aggressive competition, will be doing the same. What skills do you need to work in venture capital? What I'm not going to be telling you in this section is the various sections of qualifications and skills you need to fill out your CV so that you can present it to a VC firm. Although that has a part of the list, it is not the key issues that we need to talk about. To work in a venture capital firm, you need a combination of both technical and, most importantly, soft skills. Some of the key skills that are commonly sought after, we're going to discuss now. Firstly, you do need strong analytical skills. Now, this is more than just Excel modeling. You need a deep understanding, a comprehension of financial statements, and the ability to evaluate the potential of a business idea, which is crucial for the decision-making process. You need to be able to read a 10K or a report and accounts and really understand what it's telling you. It's almost like reading a book, understanding what the numbers are telling you, and particularly on a time series analysis. Of course, networking and relationship building is critical to your success in the industry. You have to build your relationships with entrepreneurs because they're potentially the sources of new deals, with other venture capitalists with whom you might be working but who might want to hire you, and of course, the limited partners who are the people who provide the capital into the firm. You need to have real business acumen. You need to have judgment. Your partners will always be asking you what you think of something, and you need to have a view. So a solid understanding of the business and industry in which the fund is investing is important, and this will help you to identify opportunities and evaluate risks, because making investments in deals is all about getting the balance of risk and reward correct. Of course, you need an entrepreneurial mindset. This is not thinking like an academic. This is thinking like an entrepreneur, who are the people with whom you are making investments. So the ability to think creatively and strategically and to be comfortable with risk and uncertainty is important for your success in venture capital. Strong communication and negotiation skills. Again, it almost goes without saying, but of course it has to be said. Communication has to be both verbal and written, and your negotiation skills means you need a deep understanding of how to negotiate, and this is as much an art as a science. So the ability to effectively communicate with entrepreneurs, limited partners, and other stakeholders, and to negotiate deals is critical for your success. Your industry-specific knowledge is also, of course, important. You need to understand the landscape of the businesses you are working in. So knowledge of a specific industry or technology can be highly valuable, as it helps to identify potential investment opportunities and evaluate the potential of specific companies. When I was first hired into investment banking, I was told to work in the engineering sector, and I had to go to my boss and basically explain, well, look, it's all well and good, but I don't know the first thing about engineering. I then actually spent several years working in the building materials and construction area, which was hugely interesting and very rewarding, but I know what a brick is and I know what cement is, so I was able to work with those materials. Subsequently, I then moved into technology, and again, this was because I had a passionate interest in the sector. And of course, you want to work in a growth sector, not in a contracting sector. And in 1997 and 1998, of course, we were in the boom area for technology. And I went into technology services because it was such a complex area. I believed that if I could, and I did, master the sector, then I would become extremely valuable. In fact, I then get headhunted to run IT services M&A in Europe. So understanding then of legal and compliance, you have to have, not necessarily be a lawyer, but you do need to have an understanding of law, regulation and compliance issues that affect venture capital transactions. And this is obviously important in the whole process of making an investment. Moving on to soft skills, you need to have EQ, empathy, and be able to provide leadership. A strong ability to work with and mentor your own colleagues and entrepreneurs is important, particularly as venture capitalists often act as advisors and board members on the companies they invest in. So working in venture capital is more than just being a good technical analyst or having great academic qualifications. VC firms are small and they need people with financial skills, with judgment and acumen. If you look at how many VC deals do not work out, despite the amazing people working in the industry, you can see how difficult it is to be successful. This means that you have to have a broad range of skills and capabilities, as they will ultimately want to hire someone with the potential to one day make partner in the firm. Let's take a look now at how you can get a job in venture capital. There are a few different paths to getting a job in venture capital, and the best route will depend on your background and experience, but some common strategies include networking. If you build relationships with people in the venture capital industry, it can be one of the most effective ways to get your foot in the door. Make sure that you attend industry events and you connect with VCs on LinkedIn and reach out to people you know who work in the field. Of course, there's no alternative or there's no substitute for gaining relevant experience, and having relevant experience in startups, finance, or a related field can make you a more attractive candidate. Education is always a cornerstone, and many venture capitalists have advanced degrees in business or finance, so getting an MBA or other advanced degree can be a good way to gain the skills and knowledge you need to work in the field. An internship is a good way to get your foot in the door and to meet some of the key people in the business and impress them. Many venture capital firms offer internships, often unpaid, and this helps aspiring VCs to gain experience and make connections. Of course, you can join a startup or a startup accelerator, and this will give you hands-on experience on how a startup runs, what are the common problems that entrepreneurs face, and how to think like an entrepreneur. Of course, you should try to research and showcase your knowledge. Research the venture capital industry, learn about the different types of funds and investment strategies, and be able to speak knowledgeably about current trends and developments in the field. It is important to keep in mind that competition for jobs in venture capital is often high, and the industry can be highly selective. You should ensure that your CV is up to date and reflects not only your recent qualifications, but also your experience, which is directly relevant to venture capital. You should be able to demonstrate competence and experience in the areas of expertise that venture capital firms need in their businesses, including, for example, financial competence and modelling and presentation skills. Essentially, there are 3 entry points: pre-MBA, post-MBA, and senior executive or partner. I think of these, the pre-MBA is the most difficult. Coming with an MBA qualification, almost certainly from a very good school, will definitely enhance your opportunities of making a break into a VC firm. But clearly, if you're older and you've spent, say, 10 or 20 years in investment banking, then you may be able to move in at a more senior executive or partner role. You should evaluate your own current expertise and experience, and then consider in which areas you lack relevant skills and experience, and consider how you're going to address these. When you approach the interview stage, you can expect 4 different types of questions. Background. You should be able to explain your CV to the interviewer and help them to understand the relevance of your experience to the role. Industry knowledge. This should be both broad and focused. In broad terms, you should be up to date with developments in business and finance. Be aware of the recent deals that have been announced or have recently closed, and have a view on the market and be able to present and argue for investment opportunities. Many firms have a sector or industry focus, and you need to be able to demonstrate your understanding of the sector, recent activity, and have a view on recent deals, good and bad. Process questions. You should have done your analysis on the VC firm and its portfolio and be able to demonstrate this understanding. You should also be able to present an understanding of the fundraising cycle, the current situation of the firm, and the processes involved in originating, negotiating, and closing an investment deal. Experience questions. Here, you should demonstrate why your experience is relevant to the firm, how you have added value in your previous roles and deals, and how you can be a good hire for the firm. Therefore, it's important to build a strong network, gain relevant experience, and showcase your skills and knowledge through education, internships, or other opportunities.